everyone, it's Rhea, and today I'm going to be talking about Venus in Aries. I'm going to break down this video in 3 parts. I'm going to kick off with what does Venus in Aries mean for us, how this may impact relationships, and what we can expect into the lead up to Venus going retrograde. So keep on watching to find out, and also at the end of this video I will be going through all the 12 zodiac signs and sharing what this may mean for your zodiac, and I'll leave the timestamps down below. Venus in Aries is not like your typical love goddess. She is fiery, feisty, spicy, fun, adventurous, super ferocious, and also very independent. So when the goddess of love and relationships moves into Aries, the tone to relationships, how we act in relationships, how we feel about relationships, romance, takes a much more spicier flavor. In fact, there could be a lot of friction and tension, but that just can be super exciting for Venus in Aries. And you may even get into this so-called argument or conflict just so that you can enjoy the makeup sex later on. That is so Venus in Aries, okay? She's all about the drama, but that drama gotta keep her on her toes. And I know that's not conventional for relationships, because in order to have a peaceful, harmonious relationship, you gotta have peace, right? And it's gotta be all lovey-dovey. That is the opposite sign, Libra. That's what Libra is all about. But Aries is a super independent, freedom-orientated energy. Relationships are about union and they're about partnerships, right? So when Venus in Aries feels a little too, I guess, smothered or a little too caged, that's when Venus in Aries starts to act out, okay? Because Venus in Aries needs freedom, it needs independence. You gotta know your boundaries with Venus in Aries, because just the wrong little move can irritate Venus in Aries and it can create a whole situation where Venus in Aries feels like you're trespassing on its freedom. Bottom line is, you can't tame Venus in Aries. Venus in Aries has a type of energy where she believes she doesn't belong to anyone but herself, and you gotta be okay with that. You gotta be okay with how much sovereignty she has. Relationships are gonna take a very adventurous, feisty, ferocious, fiery tone. There's gonna be a lot of defensiveness as well in relationships. If you try to smother one another, if you try to cage one another, that's when there could be confrontations, drama, or conflicts. You have to have the understanding of we are sovereign beings. Even though if you are in a monogamous relationship, you each are still sovereign, independent, and free beings, individuals, and you have to be able to express your individuality. So that may be a theme that comes up during Venus moving into Aries, where you're feeling very freedom-orientated in terms of love and relationships. You want more space and more freedom to express yourself and your individuality, and you want to also express your creativity in a way that is a little more provocative as well. That is a major theme with Venus in Aries. She's not conservative. She's not your typical girl next door. Venus in Aries is provocative, and that's what I love about Venus in Aries, because she's not afraid of being who she is. She's not afraid of expressing herself, even if others do not receive it very well. She's gonna stand on business, okay? Venus in Aries, she don't play about who she is and how she feels about herself or how she wants to express her feminine energy. So if you're a woman, you may feel like you want to express a more sexual, sensual side to you that you usually don't. And if you are a man attracted to women, you may find the women in your life are a little more defensive during this time, or they're a bit more fiery, very sovereign, and yeah, you're like, where's all this energy coming from? Venus in Aries. Venus in Aries really igniting that fire within the feminines. A positive about Venus moving into Aries is the passion. You can really be extremely passionate during this time in terms of how you approach romance or even in your relationship, so that can be exciting. But here's the catch with Venus in Aries: it could be passionate one moment, but then at the same time, in another instance, it needs space, or it needs freedom, or it needs to just be really spontaneous, and you need to keep on feeding it this fire so that it feels inspired, so it feels excited. Now, on the more shadowy side of Venus in Aries, because Aries is ruled by Mars, so it's very combative, it's the warrior archetype. So when the goddess of love is in the sign of Aries, it's, wow, my earring just came off. Is that a sign? Girl. Like literally my earring, the snake, the serpent. I'm all about the serpents, okay? Aren't we in the year of the snake? That's interesting because just like last year, I started to buy like a ton of snake jewelry. I don't know why. Venus in Aries can, yes, be super protective of its relationship and partner. Super protective, viciously protective. But at the same time, it could be very protective of its own heart, of its own sovereignty and the experiences it wants to experience. So that's when Venus in Aries may get very protective or very defensive of itself. Again, if you get too smothering or if you try to cage it, that's when that warrior archetype can also come out, which is very rare for Venus because Venus is a goddess of love and sensuality and pleasure. But in Aries, it takes a more defensive approach to love and relationships, especially the matters of the heart, especially when it comes to itself as well, because Aries is about me, myself, and I. Venus is relationships. It's me, you, us, right? So that's where there can be a bit of a challenge. What to expect during the lead up to Venus going retrograde. One of the major themes with Venus and Aries can be freedom. How free am I in this relationship? Do I require more freedom and independence? Do I require more space? Am I being smothered? Am I able to fully express myself in this relationship? Am I fully able to express my individuality? Am I able to be who I really am, or do I have to fit into this mold in order to make this relationship work? Now, earlier on I touched up on what is required in monogamous relationships. You know, there has to be a certain type of structure in monogamous relationships and boundaries, but with Venus and Aries, because it's so freedom orientated, it may want to experience open relationships or polygamous relationships. Something interesting that I came across a couple of months ago was that monogamy is a trauma response. And that fascinates me. Now, being a Venus in Capricorn, although I got an Aquarius stellium, I'm very conservative in relationships. So, you know, one-to-one relationships is what I'm about. However, I still am a free thinker, so I like to get deeper into, well, is monogamy really a trauma response? Is it because I don't want to be abandoned, or I want it to be the me show where I want somebody to be in complete worship to me, or I don't want to be at the end of the priority list? Like, what is it that makes monogamy like a trauma response? Or is it a trauma response, should I say? And although I'm very firm in what I require in relationships, and I won't budge in what I believe and what I know I deserve and what I am worthy of, I still like to question my beliefs, my ideologies again and again and again till I make sense out of them, because a Scorpio Luna here, okay, a girl likes to go deep and deep and deep into the ocean, because, you know, our beliefs can be constructed by a lot of different things. Some of it can be trauma-based beliefs as well. So I like to question absolutely everything. I don't believe that just because I believe in something it's the only way or it's the right way. I like to go over my beliefs all the time. But I also know that polygamy can also suggest a trauma response as well. So, you know, we're just so complicated as humans. We really are. Like, we really are. Like, when I look at my birth chart, don't even get me started. I'm like, what a contradiction. Because on one instance, I have a Venus in Capricorn, which is very traditional and conservative, and it's about marriage and a family. I look at my Aquarius stellium, Sun in Aquarius, Uranus in Aquarius, and a bunch of other Aquarius stuff. That's all about freedom and independence and give me my space and detachment. And there was an energy that was all about polygamy and open relationships, that would be Aquarius. And then I have like a moon in Scorpio, which is about you are mine, and it's so possessive, and it's all about merging your souls together. Each area of my chart just contradicts every other part. But I know ultimately, looking at my North Node, I need structure in my life. Structure keeps me in balance, in harmony. Sometimes, you know, the whole open relationships and this person and that person, and I'm a free spirit. Like, I really have a hard time with the term free spirit. These days, somebody could cheat on you and they'd call it, you know, I'm a free spirit. All that I'm just sharing with you is very significant for this whole Venus and Aries going retrograde, because it can bring a lot of those themes up. Like, when it comes to what you believe in relationships. How much freedom do you require? How much independence do you require? How much of a free spirit are you? And where are the boundaries when it comes to free spiritness? See, that's my thing when somebody says to me they're a free spirit. Like, where are your boundaries? Where are your limits? Because you got to be crystal clear with your limits. Telling me you're a free spirit can mean so all those themes can come up of how much space do I need, how much freedom, how much independence, how much am I able to express myself, how much passion is there in this relationship? Are we passionate about each other, or am I just passionate about me? Do I just want you so that you can ignite my fire? Am I equally igniting your fire? Am I equally passionate about you? Am I equally pleasuring you in whatever form that may be? You know, because like I said, Aries is the first zodiac sign. So it's me, myself, and I. Whereas the opposite sign, where Venus is at home, is Libra, which is about us, we, me and you, as a unit, as a union, as a team, as a partnership. It's about let's meet in the middle. When you're looking at more challenging transits, especially when it's retrograde, you got to look at its opposite energy and see, well, what does that do well in that we could bring and apply into the transit we're currently going in. And the Aries energy has been so significant because we've had the eclipses in the Aries and Libra axis. And when we move into March, we got an Aries eclipse, the finale. Even though it's a partial eclipse, it's still an eclipse. Some of like the tensions or the conflicts or the issues that have been building up may show themselves, may come right up to the surface during February. Make a note of them, journal, so that you don't forget, so that you know what's up. Because they may really escalate or really be something that you have to figure out and navigate through Venus retrograde. And let me just say this, Venus retrograde is not here to end your relationship. It's not here to destroy your peace. It's here so that you can make sure you are in the right partnership, in the right relationship, so that you are in harmony and in balance with whomever you are with. Now I'm going to go through all the 12 zodiac signs and share with you how Venus in Aries and the lead up to retrograde may impact you. And I'm specifically going to focus on relationships here. Although Venus in retrograde can mean so many different things, the focus of this video is love and relationships. So I'm going to be going through with that. I'll leave the timestamps down below. This may vary from chart to chart because I am working with the whole sign house system. So if you want to get more personal and deeper, check out my astrology booking site. Venus will be moving into your sign, Aries, which means you will be directly impacted by this transit. Now, Venus goes retrograde on March the 1st at 10 degrees of Aries, which means that it's not going to impact every single Aries, okay? Look at your chart and look at your placements. If you have any Aries placements until 10 degrees, then that means you'll be impacted the most, okay? But other than that, it is not going to impact everyone the same way because Venus retrograde is going to move into Pisces as well. So it's only really going to impact you if you have early Aries in your chart. Now, because it's impacting you directly and it's in your sign, this means that, of course, we're looking at love, we're looking at relationships, we're looking at self-worth, we're looking at creativity, we're looking at passion, sensuality, feminine energy. Also can impact finances as well. And when retrograde occurs, this is a time where we start to go more inwards. This is a energy that pulls us in. It makes us slow down. It makes us go over certain situations, certain relationships, and certain aspects of ourself as well. This is an energy that makes us focus on any area of our life that we do need to take some time to think about, take some time to understand or navigate through or come to some sort of resolution. Now we're looking at February, okay? February is the preparation. And Venus will be moving very slowly until the lead up to retrograde, which is going to happen on March the 1st. If you are in a relationship, any tensions or any things that creep up or come up that need to be resolved, that need to be transformed, may present themselves throughout February until the lead up to retrograde, where you really got to do that relationship work, healing, or transformation. If you're single, this may just have to do with past relationships or working on your own self-worth and how you feel about yourself and what you feel like you deserve or what you require in relationships and how you want to move forward. It could be a very healing time. This could also impact creativity and finances as well. Now, into the lead up to retrograde season, sometimes certain things that need to be transformed come up slowly, gradually, and you kind of notice them coming up and you're like, hang on a minute, where is this coming from? Well, it's coming from the lead up to Venus retrograde, okay? So make a note of everything that is coming up and what you're feeling, especially. Venus is a heart energy, it's a heart center energy. So journaling can be so healing during this time. So those of you that are being impacted, just know that this retrograde or the lead up to the retrograde, it has your back, okay? This is about growth. This is about moving forward. This is about progressing forward. This is about transformation, and that's not something to fear. That's something to embrace, okay? You got this. Taurus, when Venus moves into Aries, it will move into your 12th house. So with this, Venus is very sensitive, very empathic, very in tune with the emotional realm, the intuition, and this is a time where there could be a lot of reflection on the past, okay? Regardless of your relationship status, whether you're in a relationship, whether you are single, emotions and past experiences can come up to the surface throughout February into the lead up to March when Venus does go retrograde. And this is a moment or an opportunity that, think of it like your higher self bringing to you so that you can work on some past situations and heal, transform, and let go of anything that you're still holding on to. The 12th house is a very psychically charged area of life, and it also rules over the past. It also rules over our emotional, spiritual, psychic energy. And when I look at the 12th house, I look at past lives as well, and regardless if you believe in the concept of past lives or not, there's so much healing we can do from what the 12th house brings up. Journaling is so healing, especially with 12th house transits, because there's so much that comes up to the surface, comes up emotionally and even spiritually, that can help you understand and process this spiritual journey you are, whether it's healing through relationships, whether it's coming to an awareness through relationships or other people, or just really opening up your heart chakra. This is an incredible time to really journal so you can get a better understanding of where you're currently at and what you're holding on to and how you can move forward, especially regarding matters of the heart, love, and relationship. So a very healing time. Gemini, so Venus will be in your 11th house. Now, this is a very nice place for Venus to be because as a gem dominant, you're all about being a social butterfly, and Venus is like a socialite in the 11th house, okay? If we're looking at this from the lens of leading up to Venus retrograde and some of the things that can come up during retrograde, it could be connected to your friendships and the people you're around. If you are in a relationship, a possible manifestation could be that you have to kind of figure out how much time you need with either friends and your social life and your partner. Because as a gem, like, you can't be with one person all the time. You need to experience different energies. You need to feel stimulated. You just can't be in like this cocoon with just like the person you're with. Like, if you look around, a lot of people be doing that when they're in a relationship and they're in that honeymoon phase. Like, they're literally obsessed with each other, but you still need a social life. You still need your freedom, your independence, your own space. So those could be some themes that come up in a relationship if you are in a relationship. Another possible manifestation of this could be where maybe there is somebody in your friend group, or maybe you're getting to know somebody who's a friend, but it's kind of more than a friendship. It's kind of like a situationship, and that's something you also have to figure out. But Venus does love being in the 11th house. It could even be, if we're looking at this outside of a relationship, this could also be connected to like figuring things out with friends, like the people you're around all the time. Maybe some past issue or things that have been kind of getting a little intense come up during February. And then when we get into Venus retrograde, that's when they really start to build up, and you got to figure it out. Otherwise, you know, some friendships may not last forever. So those could be some manifestations with Venus in the 11th house. Cancer. So Venus will be in your 10th house. The 10th house rules over your career, vacation, goals, what you want to achieve. And this is your professional area of life. This is the area of life that is visible to everyone. So when Venus is here, we're looking at the build up, the lead up to retrograde season, and some of the possible manifestations that can occur. Well, are you finding a lot of joy, a lot of independence, a lot of freedom, a lot of pleasure? It's what Venus rules over, pleasure, in this area of life where other areas of your life are not feeling complete or fulfilled. Or for example, if you look at the 10th house, and opposite the 10th house is the 4th house. The 4th house is home, family, personal relationships, you know, where you go to feel safe and secure, your sanctuary. Is that area of life not getting the TLC, not getting the love? Could there be tension building up there where you need to find a balance? And Venus is the ruler of Libra. Libra symbolizes the scales. It symbolizes balance and harmony. So that could be a possible manifestation. Or even perhaps maybe there's somebody that you know at work or is in a position of authority or is very successful or what have you, that, you know, you kind of have some attraction to, or there's something going on there. And during the build up to retrograde season and throughout the retrograde period, that's something you have to navigate through and figure out, like, is this thing good for me? Is it not good for me? Are we going to be a thing? Are we going to take it forward? Or do we need to just put it aside and keep it professional? You know, that's something that could come up. Leo, let's take a look at how Venus will be impacting you when it moves into Aries and to the build up and lead up to Venus going retrograde on March the 1st. So it's going to be moving into your 9th house. The 9th house rules over travel. It rules over foreign places. It rules over higher learning. This is also where you can find some of your spiritual and philosophical beliefs as well, okay? So when Venus is in the 9th house and we're looking at retrograde season and we're looking at how this applies or may manifest in relationships, well, it could definitely have to do with travel. Are you in a long distance relationship? You know, is the person that you're seeing, dated, interested in, you know, long distance? Is that something you have to figure out? Is this working out for you? Or is it not? You know, that may be a major theme that comes up depending on your situation. If you're not in a long distance relationship, perhaps there is some sort of clash in terms of like your spiritual or philosophical beliefs. Do you feel like you're in alignment? Do you feel like you're in harmony? Like, that is very Venusian, you know, peace, balance, harmony, equilibrium, union, feeling like we are together and we get each other. That is so important in a relationship. So is there something that you need to kind of figure out or navigate through in terms of the 9th house? Okay, so that could be a manifestation with Venus in retrograde in the 9th house in regards to relationships. Virgo, Venus moving into Aries, building up to retrograde season on March the 1st in your 8th house. How will this be impacting relationships? Now, the 7th house rules over committed relationships, partnerships, and marriage. When we move into the 8th house, we're taking it further. We're getting into the more deeper, intense aspects of a committed relationship or partnership, especially like a marriage. We're looking at the area that may not even be that romantic or glamorous, because when you look at the 8th house, we're looking at shared resources, shared finances, and in a partnership, in a marriage, you know, those things come together. So you have to kind of look at the more unglamorous side of the 8th house as well. Although there is a very mystical, magical, and also very deep, soulful side to the 8th house, because there's just so many dimensions in it as well. Like, it's about soul union, it's about intimacy, you know, it's about taking relationships on a much more deeper spiritual level if you're looking at it esoterically. So those themes can come up. All that I just spoke about can come up, and that is very Venusian as well when we're looking at relationships. So that may be something that builds up, and, you know, as we get into retrograde season, those things can then manifest, where you got to look at the more serious aspects of relationships and figure them out. And because we're looking at Aries here, this could have to do a lot with independence and freedom. Libra, Venus will be moving into your opposite sign, Aries, and that is a sign it will also be going retrograde in. This is impacting you equally as much as it's impacting Aries, and a lot of the themes of what you've been going through in the last year and a half, especially with the eclipses and the South and North Node being in an Aries sign, it's getting to a point now where if you've been holding on, if you've been just attached to the romantic idea of what could be or what we potentially could lead up to, and not looking at the facts and reality, this is a time where everything that you've still been trying your best to push under the rug, and you know, you don't want to confront the truth, no matter how much the cosmic energies and your higher self have been pushing you to make the change or pushing you to see things for what they are and make a decision. Like, again, this energy is going to come up so you can figure it out. This is another opportunity. Let's see everything for what it is. And, you know, for some of you, it's probably not even linked to, well, it could be linked to a relationship, but it's not even about the other person. It's about you, especially if you're single. Like, is there any healing that you still need to do? Do you need to regain your self-worth, your self-confidence, your belief in love? Do you need to really reignite that sacred heart fire within you so that you can attract your match, your divine match? You know, there could be a lot of themes around self-healing and self-love. Scorpio, Venus will be moving into your 6th house, which means there's going to be emphasis on your daily routine, work, and as well as health and wellness. And if we're looking at Venus building up to Venus retrograde on March the 1st, and especially regarding relationships, well, this could be regarding, like, one of the manifestations could be how much time do you have for your relationship? Like, how does it fit with your daily life, your daily routine? Is it smoothly fitting in with your daily life, or is there some tension where you just don't have any space for it? You know, do you need to restructure your life in a way? This could also have to do with mind, body, soul, and spirit as well. Like, how much is this relationship uplifting you? How much is it supporting you? How much space is it giving you? How much energy does it give you? Is it supportive in terms of work? Or maybe another possibility could be in regards to being connected with somebody in a romantic sense that you work with as well. So you kind of have to figure out through the retrograde of, you know, is this a thing? Is this not a thing? Is this working out? Can we make it work out? Or, you know, what do we do about it? So those are some manifestations with Venus in the 6th house in regards to relationships and the build up to retrograde season. Of course, it won't impact everyone the same way, especially, like, for example, if you're single and you're not in a relationship, that could completely change the interpretation, because if you're single and Venus retrograde is impacting you strongly, it could impact you in terms of your self-worth and your self-confidence and how much you believe in relationships and your attitudes towards relationships and what you require regarding 6th house matters and how they fit in your world, how they fit in your daily life, your daily routine, how they work out in terms of how much time and energy you have for them as well. Like, are they healthy for mind, body, soul, and spirit? So those are some things that you may have to consider during retrograde season. Sag, when Venus moves into Aries, and if we're looking at the build up to Venus retrograde on March the 1st, and
specifically in terms of how this may manifest in relationships? Well, when Venus is in the 5th house, she is loving it. She loves the 5th house because the 5th house is all about joy, fun, pleasure. It's about dating. It's about romance. It's like the best place Venus can be, apart from also being in its area of life, which is the 7th house. So Venus is having the time of her life in the 5th house. The only thing is, when Venus is building up to a retrograde, it's not that fun. You know, the joy kind of goes away because you got to deal with the more deeper aspects of this area of life. And if you are like dating somebody or getting to know somebody, issues or problems or things that need to be figured out before you can get even more deeper or progress forward as a couple may come up. Like, where are you not seeing eye to eye? Or where do you need to, especially because Venus is in Aries, like, where do you need to give each other space to express yourself? Because the 5th house also rules over self-expression, and this may also impact your sex life. This may also impact like how much fun you're having, together. And because the 5th house can rule over dating, if you are dating, this may be a time where you're kind of rethinking, hang on a minute, is this working out? Do we take things further or not? Or, you know, what are our differences? Things may get very heated. I mean, they could also get very passionate. So that's something to watch out for with Venus retrogrades coming up, because there could be a lot of focus on relationships. And if you're single, you may be thinking, well, how's that going to impact me? Well, Venus retrograde can bring up things from the past. So we can either bring up ex from a past, or a past lover, or just like emotions or experiences from the past regarding the matters of the heart that you still need to deal with. And it's all there so that we can heal and transform. Capricorn. When Venus moves into Aries, it will be impacting your 4th house that rules over home, family, your personal life, your sanctuary, what brings you safety and security, where you go to retreat. Now, the build up to Venus going retrograde on March the 1st, so you can already feel some tension regarding home life. You know, when Venus is in the 4th house, we're looking at close personal relationships. We're looking at home, especially like if you have a family and you're married and, you know, you have this secure safety net. Venus can bring up things that have been brewing up for a while that need to be addressed and figured out. So it can definitely impact home life. And maybe there needs to be like a balance between home life, your personal life, and work life, and your public life. Because if you look opposite to the 4th house, it's the 10th house. And being a Capricorn dominant, I mean, you're definitely a workaholic. And when one area of life gets too much attention, the other one sometimes feels a little neglected. Or if you are in a very serious, deep relationship, regardless if it's marriage or not, there may be themes of how at home do we feel with each other? How safe and secure do we feel with each other? Do I feel like I am being nurtured and nourished? Those are some themes that may come up also regarding, like, are we building together? Are we building a family unit? Are we moving forward? Are we progressing in this relationship or not? Like, those are some serious things that may come up, especially being a Capricorn ruled by Saturn. Like Aquarius. When Venus moves into Aries, it will be impacting your 3rd house. And if we're looking at it from the lens of strictly relationships and how it may impact relationships, especially to the build up of Venus retrograde that's going to occur on March the 1st, well, there's going to be a huge emphasis on communication, because that's what the 3rd house rules over. So there could be a lot of important conversations that you need to have regarding your relationship if you are in a relationship. And if you're not in a relationship, perhaps it's someone from the past that you had a serious relationship with, or there's some, you know, unspoken words that need to be said, or still there's things that you need to figure out and perhaps get some closure. Although Aquarius is a very detached energy, so sometimes it doesn't even need closure. It's just like, okay, we're done, bye. However, certain cosmic events and energies may make you have those conversations because they need to be had. So there's going to be a huge emphasis on that, okay? And also Aquarius being an air sign in relationships, it needs so much stimulation, so much mental stimulation. It's very logical. It's all about the mind. And this may be a time where your relationship kind of gets tested if you are in one where you have to really come to a conclusion. Like, are we mentally compatible? Like, are we able to have, conversations that keep us both excited and are, progressive and forward thinking, or, is one of us, a little limited in that and is a little more reserved in that, which kind of makes a relationship a little boring. Like, the third house needs excitement. It needs something to do. It's all about stimulation and movement. So that may also be a theme, Of course, it depends on your chart, but the major thing here is communication. Pisces. So the interesting thing about this retrograde is that it starts off in the sign Aries at 10 degrees of Aries, but then it moves back into Pisces. So if you have late Pisces in your chart, you'll be impacted the most by this retrograde. So it's going to be impacting just like your overall life and overall life direction. Not only is it going to kick off in the second house, which has to do with finances and resources and your self-worth, but it also moves into your sign, your first house, where you have so much energy just kicking off in February, setting the tone for what's to come, especially with the eclipses in your sign. So when Venus retrograde occurs, you got to really get deep. You got to get deep about a lot of things. You got to look at what's working and what's most especially not working, because anything that is not working comes right up to the surface that you have to figure out. When it's in Aries, there can be some tension, there can be some conflicts, because Aries is a fiery energy. And it's also very direct and very defensive and protective, and especially regarding perhaps what you own or how you feel about your self-worth and what you're deserving of. That could be tied to the second house. So those themes can come up with Venus in the second house. There even could be some like conflicts of what's mine and what's yours, and regarding money as well. And when it moves into, especially in March, which we'll get deeper into in another episode, when we get into March and as the retrograde goes backwards into your sign, that could impact any area of your life, especially when it's in your sign. It could impact any major area of life, depending on what else is going in your chart. But on the topic of relationships, it's a reassessment of relationships. And even if you're single, it could be just like a reassessment of past relationships and where you're currently at. Where's the heart chakra at? How is the heart chakra feeling? Is it, thriving? Or is there some hurt? Is there some wounds? Is there something that is not allowing the heart fire to really shine and expand further, where you can even open the second heart chakra, the thymus chakra? So relationships is going to be huge for you, not only with this Venus retrograde, but in different stages throughout the next year and a half, especially with the North Node being in your sign. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, show it some love, give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want to get deeper and learn about your astrology birth chart or what the year ahead has in store for you, check out my booking website.